Morning, everybody, or evening, or whenever you're watching this. Let's make a start. And as always, please go nice and gently, especially if you're somebody who's not done this before or not very much. This is not a competition, remember. We're just trying to get a sense of our posture and our movement to begin with. A posture that allows for movement so that we don't have to strain. So standing with your feet hip width apart, I beg your pardon. Bring your attention to this center part of the body and just begin to turn gently there. Just let your arms follow your shoulders follow this movement in the center of your body. As I said, we want a posture that allows for this movement. So we want to bring ourselves in line with the pull of gravity so that we're not straining to stop ourselves falling over. I'm leaning out there. There's going to be tension build up in my body somewhere or other. And as we get more familiar with the feelings of movement within our body, then we can refine that posture. Ideally, what I want to do is have my weight a little bit forwards and just to let my hips settle back as though I'm just perched on the edge of a table or something like that. Slight feeling in lower back and hips and buttocks that they're overhanging. This helps us to just drop our center of gravity. So there's two things here. One is the alignment with the center of gravity. And the other is to drop our center of gravity. So there's less weight being carried in the upper part of the body in particular. And both of those will help to encourage the body to release tightness and stiffness. And that in its turn will begin to allow for movement. And that movement covers lots of areas. Obviously, the movement in things like our muscles as they expand and contract, joints like our hips and our shoulders, movement of the blood circulating, breathing is a form of movement. A lot of processes within the body require space for movement. And also for the movement itself, the sense of a movement through the whole of the body. We maybe want to think in terms of energy, if that's a label that suits you, or just this general sense that when we move, and particularly when we move the center part of our body, all parts of our body are affected. People with more experience, you should feel the effect in your legs, but try and avoid this sort of syndrome with your knees twisting around or your weight moving. If there's a little bit of movement of the weight needs, then that shouldn't be a problem. But in the long term, we want to try and keep our weight 50% in each leg and our knees pointing in the same direction as our toes. We also bring a strong focus of attention to that center part of our body. And so we start to engage not just the body physically and in terms of the movement, but also we engage our minds, our awareness, and our intentions. These are intentional movements. So the focusing of our attention, the subsequent focusing of our intention is a key part of the movement. And I sometimes will suggest to people that particularly when we're starting off in Tai Chi, we should approach it as a form of movement meditation rather than as an exercise. We clearly are exercising, but this meditative element is important in Tai Chi. And it's that focusing of our attention that encourages a sense of stillness, of calmness in our minds. And this is very characteristic of everything that we do in the art. In particular, once again, we want that feeling of the center part of our body drop into the ground, almost as though you could almost imagine you're sitting on the ground. Get a feeling of your pelvis hanging from your hips or from your spine, whichever suits you best. So we start to develop a posture and postural changes that have a profound effect on our ability to move. But again, particularly newer people, you may be surprised that these are actually quite strong movements. These little adjustments that we're making we require muscles and tendons and ligaments to work a bit harder and a bit differently. So you will get a response from that, and it does take time to develop the conditioning for this. So go nice and easy. If you feel that your legs are beginning to really suffer with this, maybe they're stiffening up or starting to shake, just come out of the posture, give your legs a little bit of a shake to get the blood circulating again, and then go back into it. Don't stand there and grit your teeth and think, oh, I can endure this. This is not an art where we're supposed to endure. And just begin to get these glimpses of a freer quality of one of the long-term aims in Tai Chi is to encourage this internal movement. Sometimes what is referred to as the energy or the Qi in Chinese medicine, where the intention is to try and bring about a harmony in that movement. And Tai Chi and Qigong are very much part of that tradition, amongst other traditions, Chinese culture. Just notice any areas that feel a bit tight or a bit stiff. Don't dwell on them. Sometimes we find that they start to dissolve just quite naturally with the movement. Sometimes a little adjustment of posture can help. Sometimes we might want to use an image. We learn in Tai Chi that our bodies are very responsive to imagery quite naturally. But again, these are intentional images. So, for instance, if say you've got a tight shoulder and it doesn't feel as though it's moving well enough, maybe have an image of something like a rock in a riverbed with the water flowing over it and gradually smoothing it off, wearing it away. People with more experience, you may well have other tools at your command to deal with those things. But in the first instance, a very soft approach is best. And again, don't dwell on those areas. Sometimes it's good just to see where the movement is flowing, get a sense for how that can feel. And again, this is something that we can imagine feeling in those tighter areas. All of these processes are ongoing in Tai Chi. These are key elements in the practice. Now, changing your arms slightly, turn them palm forwards, raise them up a little bit, no higher than shoulder height. You'll notice that my elbows are hanging down. And then letting your hands. Put one foot forwards. Keep the width of your step. You can see the background between my legs. And now just moving your weight forwards and backwards. And noticing that as you do that, it's quite natural for the center part of your body to turn. Again, people who are more familiar with these exercises, try and get to a point where the direction of turn at the moment is in the direction of the foot that is that your weight is landing in. So when I'm on the back foot, turning slightly in that direction, front foot there. But you may notice you're going the opposite way. So don't force change, because there might be tension somewhere in your body and your body's moving around it. So don't just, again, try and elbow your way into a particular posture. And then on the other side. And shake out. So coming back to the parallel stance and looking for that alignment with the pull of gravity, just roll your weight forwards and backwards in your feet a little bit. You might find it useful and interesting to get. I've got my hand on the wall here, because when I go too far, everything starts to get a bit wobbly and a bit tense, and we don't want to have to keep stumbling around. And gradually, let me show you with this pole. In theory, I can take this pole and move it forwards and backwards and eventually find a position for it where it's so aligned with the pull of gravity that I could just walk away from it and it would stay there. Obviously, that's quite a difficult process to do. There's all sorts of factors, like it's the pole level and so on and so forth. But there's this theoretical positioning for your body and for the weight in your feet that allows you once again to find that alignment with the pull of gravity. Ideally slightly forwards in your feet. So once again, we can start to get that sense of just dropping. This is an important adjustment. We take the pressure off our knees, we soften, we release in our knees and in our hips and our ankles, so that they're not having to carry the weight of our body. But again, it does mean that other parts of your legs, muscle, tendon, ligament, bones themselves will actually start to carry more of the weight. And again, over time, there's a degree of conditioning here. So this one little adjustment actually has an effect on the whole of the body, deep into the skeleton of the body. And just feel that in this position, you're supported by your legs, and that's helped by that low center of gravity, the rooting down, as we call it. You want your back to support the front of your body, so a slight feeling of hanging in your belly, solar plexus, ribs and shoulders. And as we begin to lose some of that tightness and some of that stiffness, as we begin to realize that it's not required, then again, we'll start to feel a sense of support from deep within the body, in that area that includes the skeleton. Then let your hips drop back a little bit more, being careful of your knees, don't let them bend too far. And so this deepens the sense of rooting down. We go down further and we start to feel the response from our legs. Start to feel ourselves being pushed up. So we yield to the pull of gravity. And then we feel that there's a movement and energy rising up as a consequence of that. So the root is not just about stability, important though that is, but it is also, like for the root of a tree, a major source of the energy that we need to move with. Bring your hands around as though you're cradling a ball, and as you push up, let that expansion up through your body, push your elbows out, turn your hands over in front of your chest, and drop your hips and your shoulders as though you're pressing the ball down. And if you imagine you're doing this in water, it's a very common image that we use in Tai Chi. You'll start to feel several things. One is When we move in water, we mostly quite naturally get that feeling of releasing, of softening, as we call it in Tai Chi, in the joints and the muscles of the body, because we know that when we stiffen up, it's harder work to move in water. But we also develop a strength through doing that, particularly as we press down. We actually feel that we're pushing into the water, and it encourages a whole body movement. If you really were in water and you wanted to push a ball down, you probably wouldn't just use your arms. You'd probably sort of press down on the ball. So we gradually start to feel that there's a growing sense of our whole body moving as one unit. Bringing together gradually, bringing into harmony gradually, these three aspects of body, mind, and energy. An awareness of our posture, an awareness of our movements really does help to draw our attention into our body, to settle our thoughts a little bit, so that extraneous thoughts and things that are happening during the day and happened yesterday start to take a back seat for a while. And that increased awareness feeds back into our bodies through intention, for our ability to move more in line with the pull of gravity. And again, there's a parallel here with moving through water. If you were swimming in the sea and you wanted to get to a particular point, you'll be able to move much more efficiently if you swim with the waves, with the currents. And the principal force that acts on our body all through our lives is going to be the pull of gravity. So we want to find a way of moving, existing in harmony with that. And then turning your hands out. And this time, movement's called the wild goose. So maybe the image of the bird in flight offers some kind of quality. If an image doesn't work for you, don't go chasing after it. It may come to mean something, or it may not. We use a variety of images. Not every image will work for everybody all the time. Don't feel that you somehow failed if an image doesn't take hold. Try not to stiffen up in your wrists or fingers, your elbows or your shoulders. And again, changing, sinking down this time, letting your hands cross in front of your belly. As you push up again, your elbows are pushed out and they draw your fingers around in a nice smooth circle and then back down. This is called parting the clouds. And notice that at the fullest extent of the movement here, my elbows are still a little bit bent. We're not trying to stretch in these exercises. Stretching is a good thing to do, but it's not part of what we're doing right here and now. So we go what is sometimes referred to as 80% of the full soft boundary. One more time. This time, let your hands drop down to their full length, with the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders. And the next time you push up, one arm reaching up, winding around as though you're plucking something off a tree, pull down. It's called Dragon Plucks the Stars from the Sky. And that movement to 80% of the full possible movement is one of the things that enables the characteristic tone of our bodies while we're doing Tai Chi and Qigong. Chinese term is sung, and it could mean supple, elastic, maybe a bit like a balloon would feel when it's filled up with air or water. Quite strong, but there's an elastic resistance there, but not hard and tight. Again, this is a tone that encourages a fluidity of movement. So dragon plucks the stars from the sky. The breathing should just come very smoothly. Unless you're familiar with these exercises, and you recall a time when I've maybe offered an approach to breathing method, breathing pattern, that's comfortable for you, you can include that. But most important is to feel that your body's able to breathe comfortably, however that is for you at the moment. One more on each side. And just stand. Standing quietly, trying to keep that gentle focus of attention on your body. Maybe take a couple of slow, deep breaths if that's. Just shake it. So, keeping with this theme of allowing gravity to move through our body and feeling the response. It's like if you get that ball and you push it down into water, you feel an increasing resistance that will eventually push the ball up. For the next two exercises, we don't actually actively go down and up, but we do try and keep this position, feeling, as I said before, overhanging or dropping through this central area of your body. And we develop a growing sense of confidence in our body's ability to support us in that posture. Again, legs, back, skeleton, all have a role to play in this. And this hopefully leaves the center of our body free to move. Bring your hands to that central area on the sides, and then push up gently, just a little bit above your head. Try not to stiffen up your shoulders, and then all the way back down, making a point of coming back or completely to the starting position. Don't rush. Lift again, let your elbows drop, push out to the sides. And as you do that, just turn a little bit to one side, turn back to the front, and hands back to the starting point. Do the same thing, going in the other direction, and back, and then finally facing forwards and push out. It's called pushing in four directions. So one, you push up, and then back. Two, push out, your body expanding, and and the other way, expanding, yang, contracting here. And then again, expanding and contracting. Beating that, take your time, don't rush any stage of the movement. Beginning to recognize again the significance of that center part of the body. Not only is it the part of the body that helps us to root down, touches the ground, but it also directs, guides the movements of parts of the body like our arms. We move from our center, we move back to our center because the expansion is also from the center and back in. So this becomes a primary area of focus for our attention. And in time, one of the benefits of Tai Chi is that we learn that we can bring our attention back to this quieter space within the body, not only when we're doing Tai Chi exercises, but this is something that we can take with us into our daily lives. So there's the potential for just touching that quieter space at any point in the day. Moving through water may be a good image for you. We're pushing out sideways for the last time. Again, don't rush. Bring your hands back. Bring them down the sides, and this time let them drop to their full length again. And with the next feeling of expansion, on one side, pushing your arm out, letting it swing in a curve above your head and then down. It's called circling palms. Almost as though you've got a wall there, like the archway of an old church door, and you're sliding your hand around that arch and then coming back down to the center. And this time, if it's comfortable for you, because it's quite a strong turn, once again, you turn and that draws your arm across your body. And then changing sides. And again, if it's comfortable, add the turn. Let your arms hang down. Now, still in this posture with the hips hanging slightly back, this time just tilt your pelvis forwards and backwards a little bit. And notice the effect that has on your head and shoulders. So remember, we're always looking to try and allow the hips to drop back. And we begin to notice when that happens, our head and shoulders come up much more easily. Again, it's like if you could imagine this pole as like, what is it, goes through my body like this, then if the pole tilts over, this happens, and then if somebody were to push down on the end of the pole, this would happen. So this is a way in which once we've begun to align ourselves with the pull of gravity, we can, rather than challenging the pull of gravity to strain to bring our heads upright, we can actually use gravity to help us to bring our heads upright. The next two exercises make use of this. Please be careful with your knees and your back. I'll be doing the exercises quite big, so hopefully you can see what I'm doing, but just go as far as you're comfortable. Remember, 80% full movement. That boundary beyond which we start to stiffen up is called the soft boundary. And we want to become aware of that. Once we go beyond that, we're starting to strain the body. This time, as you tilt forwards, let your hips drop as well a little bit. And then swinging back, bringing your head upright and pushing up. So 3 stages. 1, going forwards with your head as your hips go back. 2, hips dropping down, bringing your head and shoulders upright, and 3, pushing up again. 1, 2, and this time on 3, as you push up, let your arms follow the movement, and then on 1, hips go back, shoulders and arms now go forwards, and on 3, arms hang down, and you just settle back into this deeper posture and start all over again. This is called rowing a boat in the middle of the lake. So in theory, it's a very comfortable posture, but again, this movement where our hips go back, sending our head and shoulders forwards, requires our back to condition a little bit. So please, again, go nice and easily and gently. No rush to develop these exercises. Remember, it's a meditative practice. Take it slowly and gently. One more time. And then combining the horizontal and the vertical movements in the center of the body. Bring your hands in front of your belly. Turn to your left. Push your hips back. And that will push your hands forwards. Swing across. Bringing the hands to the opposite side. Come to the upright and back. And then change direction. Turning. This is called polishing the table. I'm going to turn around so you can get a better view, hopefully, of what my hips are doing. I turn, hips go back, that hands slide forwards, cross, and back. And then I rest in the middle for a moment, not in a hurry, turn the other way, and swing. Polishing the table. If the title doesn't really work for you, another image is that you could just be rolling a ball around. Yeah. And people have been doing this for a while again. If you're using the ball rolling image, you might want to imagine that the ball gets heavier. So there's more resistance, gradually increasing the feeling of strength within the body. But always remember that when we talk about strength in Tai Chi, it's a very soft strength. So the internal strength should feel more like water than rock. One more on each side. And just stand for them. This notion of internal strength, Tai Chi and Qigong, is something that comes from the martial side of the art, but I think it's applicable in lots of ways for us. There is this toning, this condition of the body physically, this increased sense of resilience in the movement, in the energy. These are all some of the things that we begin to benefit from with regular practice in Tai Chi. We're going to change the stance again. So now, from the parallel position, imagine you've got parallel lines running through your feet, like tram lines, as we sometimes refer to. Turn your left foot out, so mirror my movements. Take a step forwards with the right foot. So you maintain the width of your step. You can still see the background between my legs. If you stand like this, you feel as though you stand on a tightrope or trying to balance on a log. So take that space. And in terms of length, it's not a huge stride, but it's about the same length as the width of your step. Notice that my heels are in front of my toes. Don't try not to stand like that. You won't have enough room for the exercises that we're going to do. Again, more experienced people, you may find that with an increased sense of dropping down, you get a slightly longer step, but it's never going to be a huge stride. And begin to just transfer your weight from front to back. We move from the ground. If we sink into the back leg, our weight drops down, and that will sort of give you a sense of compression in the legs, which then moves you forwards. And the same thing in the front leg. Almost if you could imagine doing this with something like a trampoline or a bouncy castle. We often have the habit, and it's a very useful habit at times, of initiating movement through the top of our body. So there's a change in perspective here, which is very important in Tai Chi. And again, if we think about that center line of our body, I'll demonstrate this with the pole. You'll see that it's moving with me. I don't want to lean forward or backwards, because then I start to lose that alignment with the pull of gravity. So again, trying to keep the area of the pelvis in particular level. You could imagine that your pelvis is like you've got a bowl of water there, and you don't want to tilt over to spill the water. Begin with, we're getting about 70% of our weight into the back foot. When we go forwards, not quite as much, more like 60%. And you can imagine doing this in water up to shoulder height. And that may well encourage a sense of change, responsiveness in our upper body. Now go into your back foot and very gently flex the front foot so your toes come up, a little bit more of your weight drops down. You can have the front foot turned out at this point. You go forwards, push the back knee forwards, and again, there's a slight shift further in to the front foot. So gradually, that percentage of weight increases, and we're looking to end up with our upper body directly in line with our leg. So we're aligned over one leg, and our head above our foot. Again, some of you will know that we get more precise about that. So if you're somebody who's able to get that sense of the alignment of the weight, the settling of your weight in your foot, in that area just behind the ball of your foot. Remember, there's an acupuncture point there called the bubbling well on the midline of the foot, tucked in behind the ball of the foot. Then the long-term aim would be to get to a point where eventually the crown of your head, another acupuncture point, is directly in line with that. So this is a degree of precision that we will gradually move towards over a period of time. And then just step in, push your foot back, put the ball of the foot down, lower your heel, go back, raise your toes, bring the foot in. Heel goes down, toes go down. You press the foot gently into the floor. You plant the foot and then move your weight. One of the reasons we take a shorter step is so that we can plant the foot down before we commit our weight. So it's like you're walking on thin ice. Again, as we do this, trying to keep our pelvis level. Try not to think in terms of having to balance on one leg. Rather, what you're trying to do is to position your body so that you're in line with the pull of gravity, your weight being pulled down into your foot. You're dropping your center of gravity, you're rooting down. And the combination leads to a sense of stability. We only need to think about balancing from one side to another when we lose that stability. But we will lose it. So if you get the odd wobble, again, don't feel that you failed. And again, it can be very useful to do this exercise. This is not just for beginners, but to just have that little bit of support, get a feeling of where you might be holding tension, how you might be able to just tweak your posture very gently, give you that greater stability. Shake out. We build a sense of confidence in our body's ability to support itself without tension. So there's this process of just releasing tightness, releasing tension. But of course, when we feel as though we're going to fall, we are going to stiffen up. And again, this is where it can be very interesting to have support, maybe a wall or a table next to you, so that you learn that effectively by relaxing, by releasing, by softening, by sinking down, you actually become more stable than if you're tensing up and trying to hang on to thin air. So just try that on the other side. Have your left foot forwards, transferring your weight. And again, all of these things represent aspects of our posture and our movement that encourage this sense of flow within our body, around muscles, around tissues, through the organs. This sense of what is sometimes described as being very gently massaged within our body. Or again, another image that is used is that all the internal tissues are being very gently bathed in the energy. Take your time. Give yourself time to settle into each leg. Once again, recognize that there's often an urge to rush. We want to look at our watches and think, oh, what have I got to do next? And should I be doing this? Just again, bring your attention back to your movements, to the center of your body. Allow those thoughts just to take a back seat. So we cultivate this sense of stillness. And then raising your toes and your hips. So once again, an awareness of posture and a growing awareness of posture, with the ability to listen to our bodies, encourages that quietening, that calming of our minds. This represents a really important outcome, that when we feel that we need to access that calm, we can't always do it. We can't always take time out to sit down somewhere quiet. And, sometimes we have to deal with things, but we can maybe take a breath, bring our attention into our body, just to settle ourselves. And then you put in shout. And then take a few steps through, either forwards or backwards, depending on how much room you have. Foot comes in, out, plants down, and you transfer your weight. Just reflecting on this simple walking process for a few minutes. And then change direction. If you haven't done so already. And bring your feet down. So we learn that it's possible to bring our attention into our body, to pay attention to our body, to the benefit of mind and body. So for instance, maybe you're a bit late and you're rushing to the train or to pick the kids up from school. You have to keep moving fast, but sometimes that sort of sense of tightness or panic almost can arise. And if we practice bringing our attention into our body, that can just dissolve away sometimes. Or maybe you're in a car and you're late again, and The traffic lights are against you. You can't move for a few moments. The tension is building up. You're gripping the steering wheel tight. Again, bringing your attention into your body can help to just disperse that that tightness. It doesn't change the situation, but it changes how we feel in the situation. So now, once again, going into this forward stance that we call the bow stance. Sink your weight on into the back foot, fold your hands over your belly, push forwards, and as you push forwards, it's like a wave coming through your body, pushing your elbows and your arms out, gradually separating your hands. You settle into the front foot, and then reverse that, going back. This is called pigeon spreads its wings. Nice feeling of expansion across your chest, and then as you go back, you feel the contraction there and expansion across your back. The main driving force is the movement of your weight from one foot to another. It's complemented by these subtle changes we become aware of within the upper body. Changes that we can actually begin to make intentional. So this is where we find that our thoughts, our intentions can have a direct effect on small changes that build into the bigger movements. Pigeon spreads its wings. Slightly barrel-chested feel at this stage in the movement. So you're moving through water. So you're moving like water. And overextend. Notice my elbows again hanging down here. And I'm not trying to pull my hands behind my shoulders. There's a sense for what the range of movement is that allows you to still be aware of this sense of movement within your body that is flowing and unrestricted. One more time. And then coming back, let your hands drop down, feel the weight of your arms hanging. Push forwards, leaving your arms behind slightly, and then letting them swing through as you settle in the front leg. And then going back, same thing. If you were in water, your arms would naturally hang behind your shoulders. This is called fisherman cast the net. At the moment, we're facing forwards. Our weight is moving forwards and backwards. Our arms are swinging forwards. So there's a very clear, straightforward relationship. Now this time, as you come back, turn to your left, so towards the back foot. Now drawing your arms across your body. Notice there's a very gentle curve through your fingers, a very natural curve. You're not trying to lift them as yet, but notice again how that impacts maybe your sides or your back, where you feel patterns of expansion, contraction within your body. And then this time as you go back, just build on that, let your arms swing up. Going forward, your hands swinging downwards, turning to bring your hands across your hips, doing expansions through the right and then back. So you could imagine a sideways figure of eight or an infinity sign in front of you. You're just tracing that shape out, or maybe allowing your body to have a sense of flowing through that shape. Just lift them up in your finger. The circular movements are a natural movement for our arms. So if my arm is hanging down, if I simply push my hand down, I don't have to think about lifting my arm. It will naturally swing up unless I interfere with it. So the circular movements are a very natural pattern for our arms. And one of the basic units of movement in Tai Chi. So now, from the parallel position, turn your right foot out, step forward with your left. You can play around with the angle of that back foot, but for the moment, front foot is facing forwards. Hold your hands over your belly and pigeon spreads its wings. We can begin to appreciate there's a circular quality. It's as though our arms are actually tracing out a part of a much bigger circle. As you get more used to the movements, that memory of the movement, the shape, and whatever we associate with the movement, also feeds into our intention. So for those of you been doing this for a while, your intention here is to do pigeon spreads its wings, an exercise that you probably know quite well. What are the qualities that you would want to bring into this? One more time. So again, take your time, come back, bring your hands to your belly and drop down to your sides. The fisherman casts the net, and here again, we see that very gentle swinging curve. So you're just letting your fingers trail through water. Somebody once said it reminded them of stroking their dog. Turning the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders and that sense of movement within your shoulder joint, not straining in the shoulders. Building the movement into the figure of eight. Moving to whatever point is comfortable, not going from here to here because you can feel the tension building, keeping that softer or supple, spacious quality within your body. Now we're going to combine this with stepping. So once again, I'm going to go forward. So I'm going to turn my front foot out, but you can go backwards if you like. As my arms come up, push my back knee forward, bringing my foot in, and then I take the step forward. So plant the foot forwards and go forwards and sweep it. Okay. Reverse this if you're taking the steps backwards. Aware of the alignment of your body, and if it feels comfortable, then maybe even as your arms come up, raising your knee. Hips dropping back, counterbalancing the effect of your knee coming up, keeping your pelvis level. feeling that the odd wobble might well mean failure. I'm going to change direction. Can be quite useful to wobble around because it's useful to learn how to recover from that, which is this sense of, again, sung, of releasing, relaxing, allowing our center of gravity to drop, rather than straining in our upper body and hoping that somehow the thin air is going to hold us up. And then bringing your feet down. Shake. Okay, so now just rubbing your hands together. Tap it over your face. Using the pads of your fingers, then palms of your hands over your head and neck. Shoulder, arm. Yeah, just aware of the way the muscles vibrate slightly, a bit like it's in a drum. The lower part of your back. These little tapping exercises can take some of the sort of stiffness out of your muscles. Also, another good way of just being aware of your body. Then your legs, and the outside of your legs, the inside. And then light on your belly. And on the upper part of your chest. I've made several references to the idea of coming back, both physically and in our minds. And this last exercise is all about that. It's called Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. And this exercise is really good for helping us to identify what are the things that bring us back. And it could be lots of different things. So as you go through it, maybe just aware of one or two things that might be useful to you when you're stuck at the traffic lights or late to pick the kids up or whatever it happens to be. What would you like to remember in those circumstances? Embrace tiger, return to mountain. Let your hips drop down a little bit, pushing up, expanding, and then the rest of the movement really is contracting. Your arms coming around, so you're going to hold a ball here. Let your elbows drop, drawing the ball in, hips drop down, shoulders follow, arms follow your shoulders. Let your arms come to rest and then start again. So we can think of the tiger as being a bit like everyday life, but we learn to return to the mountain one way or another. Maybe through an awareness of gravity or simple awareness of the body, maybe the image of the mountain, just a memory of that sense of, particularly as we drop down there, a sense of relief. Could be lots of things. One more round. Your arms come down to your sides, stand. Once again, just familiar with this sense of simply being able to stand quietly for a few moments. Thank you very much for watching and joining in, everybody. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email me. But enjoy your practice and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much. Bye for now.